So I played Erdtree, right? Like I enjoyed it. I famously injured myself on the final boss, like after playing it for X hours long, pre-patch, I want to say. But like I just feel like yes, it's big, but it's so physically big. It's so empty, like for how big it is. In my
it's so
opinion.
big and empty
like,
once he was done with it.
yeah.
To the Press Start podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Brodie.
Hello.
James.
Hello.
And Shannon.
Hello.
Firstly, apologies for the lack of show last week. It was just scheduling got the better of us. One of those weeks we were combating illness as well. All sorts going on, but it means we've got plenty to talk about today. We have the Game Award nominations. We have rumours of PlayStation making another portable console. We've got Stalker 2 to get to as well. But first, James and Shannon, I'm curious. You both have been living with the Nintendo Alarmo for what? Has been a couple of weeks now. I think you've maybe had it, something like that. How is it going? How is it impacting your love lives? Give us all the goss.
My love lives.
Big impact.
Huge for me. Shannon.
Who wants to start?
Well, Shannon got his first, so
from a hardware point of view, I quite like it. I used it for maybe a day or two. Then I wanted to film some stuff, so I've had to pull it out and only plugged it back in a few days ago. I think it's good. I think it's a lot more complex than I thought it would be. There's some really cool technology there in how it uses like motion detection. I can't say I'm like 100% sure how it works. Like I don't really know all the little intricacies of it, and James probably knows a little bit better than me. But it does a good job. It takes a lot to get me out of bed. Like I will say, like it used to take my mum like
Doesn't take much to get you into it.
No, that's it. Once I'm there, you're not getting me out.
You sent me a video of like Bowser screaming at you this morning, I think. Is that right?
And that wasn't I ended up just pushing on the thing and turning it off after 20 minutes and just getting up at my own pace.
20 minutes.
Yeah. It is annoying. It does it. I think it's really cool tech. Is it $170? I don't know. Like even though I made content with it, I still feel a little bit ripped off, if I'm honest. But James might feel otherwise. I feel like it's changed his life quite significantly.
Yeah. So I've been using it for like a week, and I think it's quite clever. I think what it's doing is, so basically I'm assuming it looks for a flat bed, right? And if there's anything on the bed, it assumes that's a body. Like, I don't think it's too smart in a way. Like,
so if you pile up your laundry on the bed,
potentially,
it's like,
yeah.
And
I don't even think it's that. I think it's just any movement. Because my dogs, when they jumped on the bed this morning, like it knew that there was movement before they were on the bed.
I just mean more like if it knows if you're in bed or not. Like I know it's very good at movement. Like I remember the first time I woke up, I like purposely stayed still for 20 minutes to try and get the like the Bowser to appear. But then even just moving my head to look at it, it knew. So I don't know if it's smart or just really basic or what. But I think it's cool. Like I personally have made a rule that I'm not gonna touch the Alarmo. It's just there. So like if I want it to shut up, I have to get out of bed. Because I don't know if you guys are the same, but I feel like with phones and stuff, I've noticed now I can just yell out stop to my phone and it will stop the alarm and then I just stay asleep.
Don't think mine does that.
Oh really?
I have to push a button on it. Yeah.
Nah, I can literally just yell to mine and then I just stay in bed and I'm usually late for work or whatever. So I'm a really bad riser basically. And I like get off, I like wake up and then stay on my phone for ages. But with Alarmo, like it keeps going until you get out of bed, and that is like it's cool at the beginning, but then it gets so annoying. So you just get out of bed. So it's like yes, fine, like I'll get out. So I think it's actually improved my. I don't think it's improved my sleeping, but it's improved my like waking up habits. If that makes sense.
I'm impressed you're so disciplined that you're getting out of bed to turn the alarm off.
So the other thing is if you press the alarm on top, it doesn't log your sleep patterns or time or stats or whatever. So like and I love that shit on my smartwatch and stuff. So I
was going to ask, does it log that? And like how does it determine if you're awake or just kind of like tossing and turning through the night?
Well, if you're asleep, you aren't tossing and turning. Like that's
I think
that,
movement,
yeah,
which is
like,
how
so,
pretty much everything uses.
like like those
when you're asleep.
apps you get on
I
your
feel
phone
like
and
I
stuff.
move about no sleep all the time though.
I think like physically you don't if you're actually asleep. Like if you're like deep.
So am I actually awake in those moments and I'm just not remembering it?
Well, there's
sorry, this became a bit of a therapy session.
It's not even therapy. It's like basic biology. But there's like different layers of sleep. And
Okay.
I don't want to get into this too much because this is like my degree and stuff. But yeah, if you're in good deep sleep, you shouldn't be moving. That's why like if you have a dream where you're doing something, you don't actually do it in real life, right? Like, but.
I've woken myself up
Okay.
doing what I was doing in the dream though.
I don't want to know
I
what.
feel like I maybe should explain that in more detail.
Anyway, I think all of my issues with it are things that can be fixed with software updates. Like it does have a sleepy sound feature, which is like it plays like ambient noise from say Breath of the Wild or Mario and stuff, and that's really cool stuff. But it only lets you play it for 5 minutes, and I'm like, who is falling asleep in 5? Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
never.
I don't feel like I'm never falling asleep in 5 minutes. So I would love to either have that on all the time if you're like a white noise person, or just like maybe make it a bit longer. And I also wish they had like maybe 2 different sets of alarms, like days where I want to sleep in and like my weekdays and my weekends, kind of. At the moment, you can only set which days to wake up on, not like which, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just wish there was like maybe two sets of alarms.
Yeah, I think it needs, for $170, it needs a little bit more choice, and I think it needs like connectivity with it, like the Nintendo app on your phone as well, which I know kind of defeats the purpose, but it would be nice just to be able to like do that stuff on a phone and send it across. But yeah, I think it's really cool. I like, who else is going to do this if not Nintendo?
Yeah. And I think as soon as they release a Metroid alarm set, we're good. Like, I think it's
going to go off.
Perfect product, and that's But they're adding Mario Kart and Animal Crossing too. I think Animal Crossing is a good fit. But like all of the scenes so far have been good. I woke up to like Pikmin drowning one morning. That was like kind of stressful. Like it was really, I was like, what is that? But yeah, the Great Fairy moaning. Like there's a different moods that you wake up in depending on which one.
It plays sound effects when you get out of bed, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It depends on
what have you.
So like if it's playing like a battle scene from Zelda, when you get out, you hear like a few slashes and like the sound as if you've killed them. Does that, you know what I mean? Like yeah. And then it's active for like the next like hour or so too. So like I remember I had a shower and then sat on the end of my bed on my phone, and then it started going again, and I was like, fuck, okay, I'll get up. Like it's pretty
time to slay the beasts.
Yeah, literally.
Well, I didn't think we were going to talk about the Nintendo Alarmo for the first 7 minutes of this podcast, but here we are. We better get cracking with the rest of today's topics, though. And the next one, I imagine, will kick off the same sort of debate that it always does every year. And that is, of course, the Game Award 2024 nominees being released. Astrobot and Final Fantasy VII are leading the charge with 7 nominations each. But it's the Game of the Year category that's caused the most debate, with games like Astrobot, Black Myth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantasia being there. That was all kind of expected, I think. Balatro was also in the mix, as was Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, featuring despite being an expansion for a game that was already nominated and won in 2022. Obviously a big talking point that. Brodie, what were you pleased to see kind of make the list though, both in the Game of the Year category but all the other classifications as well?
Look, pretty pumped to see Gen G in the best esports team. They're my favourites. No, I was happy to see Never get a few nominations. I was a big fan of that game, obviously. Big Devolver stan, big Nomada Studios fan. So keen to see that, in there for independent game. I think it was in there for Games for Impact as well. And
Art Direction too, maybe?
Art Direction, of course, which I think it's probably... Honestly, I think it's out of that and Metaphor to win that. So if anything else wins, I'll be very dejected. And also keen to see my new favorite game that I've been playing for about 2 weeks, which is a Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket in Best Mobile Game. I think it probably gets wiped by Balatro, but it's just great for it to be there. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think Balatro is like such a great fit on mobile. That's where I've been playing it. And yeah, really loving it there. What about yourself, Shannon? What was some highlights and some lowlights, I guess, from the nominations? Not lowlights, but surprises, I guess.
What do you
Get
hate?
rid of Final Fantasy out of everything.
Yeah.
Astrobot was cool to see. I think that we thought that would probably clean up, just because purely like it is a game that most people can enjoy and most people played.
Yeah.
In the industry, it was a weird list. I was surprised to see Never get not surprised, like, because I think I would have voted for it, but I was surprised that it made it into the list just based on how we know this all shakes out. So that was cool to see. I think was it best indie game or best art direction or something
Both.
that it. Yeah, that was a cool one. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I think the most of the ones I want to talk about, I'm sure we will talk about.
How do you feel
more.
about Helldivers? I feel like Helldivers has done well, despite, probably getting most of its fanfare early in the year.
Yeah, that was probably one to it could have made it into Game of the Year and it wouldn't have surprised me too much, but given it sort of came and went quite quickly, that probably didn't work in its favor.
I think like where Helldivers 2 is kind of shaken out makes sense. Like for me, it was quite high up my kind of personal list, I think. But in comparison to just like all of the kind of quality games that have come out this year and what's kind of had some staying power, I think it was up against it in that regard. But I think like ongoing game, multiplayer game makes a lot of sense. And community support in the way that they just kind of like leaned into the world of the game. I really loved that approach. And they've supported the game with like a decent amount of content kind of post-release as well. I feel like it's in a bit of a quiet patch at the moment. I've fallen away from the game somewhat, and I feel like others have, just kind of anecdotally talking to other people I was playing it with at the time. But yeah, I think it's a fitting inclusion in multiplayer nominations, that kind of thing.
I do think looking through the list, it was a bit of a weird year. Like I think that wasn't a bad year, but I just think that it was, in some other years or most other years, probably most if not all of these games like probably wouldn't have made Game of the Year. And some of the other categories, like it feels like games are just making up the numbers and there because there's not really
like
anything else to put there.
It feels a bit like a what was the year that It Takes Two won? Like whereas like its opposition was like Deathloop and stuff like that, which are good games, like great games even, but like they're not your Ragnaroks, your Elden Rings, Tears of the Kingdom, stuff like that. So they're kind of a different ilk. But I still think it's been a solid year. Like it's been a great year for like 8s and 9s out of 10s.
Yeah. I think the fact that there's no like clear winner is quite interesting and kind of exciting. Like I'd
even assume we'd all be coming down on different sort of sides of the fence as to who we think will win. So I think that's
I do want to get to predictions, so let's just hang fire on that a little bit. I will say that I think the only kind of surprise to me, and this is coming from someone that's not played the game, but like Black Myth Wukong getting as much as it did, like I just didn't feel like there was a lot of conversation kind of after that release. Like I know it came out hot, but I feel like almost everything else on the list I've seen kind of regular commentary on well after it, but I just kind of felt like Black Myth had its moment and then people moved on. I don't know. Did you play Black Myth Wukong, James? Is that one that you liked this year?
I've played about 40 minutes of it on my Pro. Right. That's literally it. I don't. Yeah, I think as what I said when the game first came out, I'm a little bit tired of these types of games, so just not vibing with me.
I think people liked it, and like people have been waiting for it for 4 or 5 years. It's also like there could have been 15 games that like came within a vote or two. Like we just don't know how that shakes out. So like just because it's there, it doesn't mean that it was like at the top or got an overwhelming amount of votes. It might have been just going off sort of our votes. I can't speak too much about it, but there are a lot of games put forward this year, more than I can remember in any other year, which spoke to just the massive amount of like Brodie said, sort of 8 and 9s and not a lot of 10s.
Yeah. I am personally a little disappointed that Banishes, yes, for sure, but that didn't surprise me all that much. Prince of Persia, I was going to say. I just felt like that came out too long ago, that it wasn't really going to cut through, kind of memory was going to fail people somewhat there. And maybe sort of like within Metroidvania sort of genre, maybe Animal Well kind of usurped it a little bit in that sort of regard too. That being said, it got nominated for innovation and accessibility, and I thought one other. Oh yeah, best action adventure game, which I think is kind of fitting as well. Although it's up against some pretty big hitters. So yeah, that's still like one of my favorite games of the year, and I just finished the DLC last night. So yeah, that one I feel like is a bit disappointing, but not all too surprising.
Now that you mention it, I was like, Banishers could have easily been one that like got in for like best narrative at least. Like the game might have been a bit
performance as well. Like I thought there was some excellent performances.
Another one, but like art direction, that I'm a little bit confused about is how Ultros didn't get in there. Like that game looked phenomenal. Granted, earlier in the year, people probably forgot about it. Bit niche, bit indie, but that game had a crazy art direction and like
art style too. Hang on, I'm just double checking this, but I don't think Animal was on it, was it?
No.
Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Metaphor, and Never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree being on that list is even more.
Well, I was shocked. That's why I was so shocked to see Never, because it felt so out of place on that list with the other games that are there. Like the other games are clearly.
I feel like its art style was like a big draw card to that game, though. So in that regard, it doesn't surprise me entirely.
But like Animal,
honestly, I don't kind of get what's that crazy about Astrobot's art direction. If I'm being honest, like, it's a fun 3D platformer, but what does it do from an art direction perspective?
I think that's reasonable. Personally,
I think that's reasonable too. Yeah, I think there's very consistent art direction in.
I think there's like something
like
to be said. I think there's something to be said as well. Like some people might with there's art direction and there's like technical achievement in graphics. Right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like Astrobot, I would argue, is like better technical achievement, like in the way that it handles physics and everything. But then like obviously Never.
I think there needs to be a technical achievement category.
Well, there's to me, that, and then like art direction is like what you set out to do and what you achieve, right? So like you could say it's most games. Like it doesn't. It's hard to define like best art direction, because like even if Astrobot doesn't do anything crazy different or look amazing, like if it's what they sort of wanted to do and it does it well, then that
seems redundant. Why not just aim low and fucking smash those barriers?
But there are games that do that, and you would say have a good art direction, I guess.
Well, so Metaphor as an example, like the
yes,
this is the press start game of the year. Last year.
Best ongoing game.
I think Metaphor, like that game is like oozing like art, like it's just even in the menus, right? Like there's just
exploding with it.
Literally, it's just gooey and everywhere. Like I feel like every scene in that game looks really good. But then like as an example, like Black Myth also looks quite good, but that to me is just, and Astrobot, they look really good on a technical level, but not necessarily like doing much different in terms of like art style and direction.
Yeah.
But I think they're all good. I think they're all good nominees. I mean, I kind of my only one that I'm like genuinely disappointed about is I kind of wish Banishers got some like a single nod somewhere. I know it wasn't like a huge heavy hitter and it didn't sell much, I'm assuming. But yeah, like that's the one that like I'm kind of disappointed that nothing was there. And then my other thing is in best performance. I really wish that Maria's actress from Silent Hill 2 got a nod as well.
Agreed.
Like that. I think that's a huge snub.
Like her over, like not knocking his performance all that much either, but like in comparison to James, I just think she came out on trumps too.
I think they're both really good. I genuinely think they elevate that game so much more to the point where I actually feel like their performances are better than the original games, which I know is going to ruffle some feathers. But like even like Aerith, like in Final Fantasy, like she just sings and shit a bit. Like it's like I don't know, like great. There are so many games that are like aspects of that game, that are really good. But like I don't think I was never once like moved by Aerith's performance. Like, do you know what I mean? Whereas, like Maria's performance was just like dripping with like charisma. Like I think it was just a really good performance, and it sucks that she wasn't. Even like the girl in Outlaws, like I didn't love Outlaws, but I liked Outlaws. But I don't know if that character was like that
shocked me. That was one that shocked me. Just because
it's not an award-winning performance in my eyes. Like.
I I didn't play enough of that game, I don't think, to like really see the full extent of their character. But yeah, what I did see, that also surprised me too. Yeah, and even on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I actually thought like I liked Barrett's character beats like that much more in the game, and I thought he really rose that occasion. I'm trying to get the names for all these people. I think it's John Eric Bentley that plays Barrett in the game, right? Like I really loved those moments, and I feel like I connected with him more as a character throughout that game, more so than Aerith. But yeah, again, like another category I think that was really pretty contentious, competitive. But yeah, Banishers, particularly the two leads, I just thought they were excellent, and I think didn't like, I don't know, weren't carrying the game, but certainly added so much more to it than I think there may have otherwise been.
I just think like every moment between them is so good. Like there's not much like that anymore.
And get you get you so much more invested in the game than like the decision making alone would present. Like there actually isn't really, I think, like all that much decision making in the game, because you kind of make a pretty early you choose your path pretty early, but it's the character interactions and those performances that really kind of like have you in a dilemma, in a pickle.
I know we've spoken about it in past years, and it sort of is that argument of creative versus technical, but do you think there is room for a supporting actor category?
Sure.
Maybe increasingly so.
I think so. Like, why not? But I don't actually know what are the formal, I guess, like parameters for like someone to be supporting and not. Isn't it just not the screen lead time?
Maybe.
Yeah. Is that it?
I think as far as the Oscars go, it's by nomination. You decide if you're entering.
That's true. I think most like production companies put forward who they want as supporting and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think so in like Wicked, I think one of the like Ariana
supporting, which shocked me when I saw
that.
Literally the example.
It's stuff like that where like they're clearly both leads, right? So I personally I think that would be great. I think in a world where that happened, maybe that's where Salom would have got nominated for Maria. But I think like recognizing the voice actors is very important. So
yeah, agreed. Look, I do want to discuss this. We've dodged around it so far, but Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC coming into the Game of the Year category. Do we feel that's justified? Brodie, I'm after your thoughts first. James is off the blocks. What is it, James?
I think so. Like, I mean, you get into the argument of, like, you can technically not play a Game of the Year nominee this year if you don't already own the base game, and that is a bit murky, I suppose. And I did hear like people making stupid arguments. Well, I don't know if they're stupid arguments. I'll walk that back. But like arguments that the same applies to sequels. Like you wouldn't play Ragnarok without playing the first one, but you could.
No, that's not true.
That was stuff different. I heard put forward on other podcasts.
That is
which
okay. Right.
Again, I'll walk it back.
Was
it? Not stupid. Just a bit misguided, I think.
I'll say it's stupid.
Yeah, like
that is stupid. Like
yeah. So look, I in essence don't have a problem with it. Like it's. Obviously, it's an impressive DLC. Like, it's bigger than most of the base games that are nominated already. Granted, you get yourself into a weird little pigeonhole as well, where, like, if FromSoft wanted to, they could just shit out of Elden Ring DLC every year and win Game of the Year every year, and that gets a bit dangerous, I suppose. But, like, in principle, I can't have an issue with it because I nominated, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty last year. So
see that, like, it is murky, but that to me is different. Just
how
in a brain. It's different, like when you think of it, because Cyberpunk launched and was trash, and then it had a redemption arc. Like that's why I'm not saying it's different.
I think it got its flowers for like best ongoing game or like community support or something there, right? Like
it did.
Yeah.
Did it? But that's nobody wants that. Let's be honest. Like compared to Game of the Year, like nobody is taking that on versus Game of the Year. It's
you
different.
try telling that to Arrowhead when they win both of those awards.
You know what I mean? Like, if you ask Arrowhead if they want best community ongoing support or Game of the Year, like they're taking.
Well, they're not nominated for Game of the Year, so fucking.
Well, so they'll take what they give it. It's I don't know. I just don't know if you can say no. Like, you can't say no. I agree with Brodie, but Cyberpunk is different because that felt like a 2.0 of the game because it launched to try. Well, yeah, literally.
I don't think you can say that, really. I think you can't have a problem with one and then accept the other.
Well, I don't think either are right, but I just think in people's minds they're different, because for that reason, like, any game that gets DLC, then essentially we're calling it a new game, and you can then nominate it for Game of the Year. Like, the DLC cannot exist without the base game. Like, you cannot even play it standalone without it.
That's
so to me, it is not a new game.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of don't take issue with it, to be honest, which I don't know. It surprised me at first. I was like, oh, I don't know if that's cool. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, actually, it makes sense. Because, yeah, like, as you said, it's more substantial than a lot of kind of standalone releases you otherwise get this year.
I think what I'll say is, I've got no issue with it being nominated. If it wins, that'll fucking annoy me, I think. So, I don't know.
I think, yeah. I think it would just be a shame for it to win, like, because it's kind of just... I don't know. It's just kind of, okay, we've been here, done that sort of thing. And there's so many kind of like new, interesting, innovative games in that sort of list.
I just think it should have to be
standalone.
To win Game of the Year, it should have to be able to be played without the base game. Like, it should be standalone to that.
And like, not even just
stand as its own game.
Not even just to like not have to play the base game, but to play like 3/4 of the base game.
Yeah,
and
like
be
it can't
playing at a pretty
exist
high
without
level.
Yeah. That's
tricky.
Yeah.
James, where do you come down? You've been quiet.
I fucking hate it. Like, I don't. So I played Erdtree, right? Like, I enjoyed it. I famously injured myself on the final boss, like, after playing it for X hours long, pre-patch, I want to say. But like, I just feel like, yes, it's big, but it's so physically big. It's so empty, like, for how big it is, in my
It's so
opinion.
big and empty, like, once he was done with it.
yeah, that's how I felt. No, I don't know. I think it is so much more of the same for Elden Ring, and I don't even think the bosses in there are some of the best. So, like, I would much rather they have, say, a separate, like, DLC or expansion category or something. But the problem is, like, remember they used to have a remake category, and they canned that because obviously not every year that happens. But I don't agree. I don't think it should be allowed to win, say, Game of the Year over everything else. Like, it doesn't do any... There was literally no, like, evolution or sense of progression since Elden Ring, the original.
There already is bias there, right? Because the original game won Game of the Year. So, like, it should win. It's probably going to win Game of the Year just based on that alone.
But even, like, say, as an example, like Astrobot and Metaphor, like, they both take the games that those developers have made before and just kind of radically expanded on them in terms of, like,
that's what
ideas,
I was going to...
scope,
That's
and
what I was going
scale.
to add. Like, I feel like context is important. And it's like, in comparison to the base game of Elden Ring, like, what has Shadow of the Erdtree really done different, like, other than, like, kind of building on strong foundations? Like, I just
reminded me of how shit Elden Ring's camera is. Like, I like that's the big thing for me. But I don't know. It really frustrates me. I just wish that, like, a lot of people would just, like, jump off From's dick, like, for this. Like, I genuinely think people just love them so much, and I get it.
Yeah.
And they do have such amazing games. But I also think, like, there were so many things they could easily fix with Erdtree, and I think this blind praising of it all doesn't actually get them to a better place as a developer.
To be honest, I was shocked. Again, I don't want to talk ill of the process, but just from waking up and reading it, I was shocked that, like, that many people even thought to include it in Game of the Year, just because of the things we've discussed.
I liked the hours before where they quickly postured and they were like, oh, by the way, DLC is included in Game of the Year this year. You're like, oh, well, I see what's fucking coming.
I just think, like, there's so many... I recognize that's the thing that I think this boils down to, is everyone is so time poor, besides me. Like, I've got nothing else going on. I just play games. Like, that's it. But, like, because... I just, there's so many amazing games that I played this year that were brand new. A lot of, remakes, retreads, ports, whatever. But, and, like, Erdtree's really the best that you played, like, all year. Like, I just don't buy that. Like, I think...
I'm now reconsidering, like, where I should be ranking Valhalla on my list. Like, the expansion of Forgotten War. Like, I thought that was fantastic.
I don't think
I wasn't really thinking about it.
It came out after the cutoff last year.
Oh, wow.
Or was that the Game Awards, I think?
So technically is eligible.
I don't think I I'm not that strong on it in the sense that I do believe that the people that voted for it, like, they probably did think it was in their top 5, if not their best. But again, I just don't think that should make it eligible for this. Oh yeah, like Ewan said, Valhalla, that would have easily been in the top 5 things I played this year, just in the sense of like pure enjoyment and feeling satisfied. But then there would have been lots of games that just got minor DLC or any kind of DLC that
the Lake House would be...
Well, that's exactly...
viable as well, right? Like,
I mean, the idea... Imagine if the Lake House won Game of the Year. Like, I know that will never happen. But as an example, like, that's such a small... But
if I don't think you could have disqualified it just based on this. Like, because what is the difference?
Yeah.
Just scope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there is. No, I don't think there is any real difference.
No, yeah, you're right. But I think this game gets so much. Not game. This expansion gets so much reverence because of like how big it is, and I don't know.
That is and it is impressive. I don't. But
it also
word
costs
speaking, maybe
more. like I don't,
it's the price of what is it, 60 or 80 or something?
Yeah, but then I guess Phantom Liberty was what, $60, I think too. So.
I do think the point about it not being like a standalone thing is a very valid one, because you kind of when I think of Game of the Year in the same way, like I think in my mind it warrants a game to get a 10. I'm like, how is this kind of pushing boundaries and like pushing the industry forward and introducing something sort of new to the medium or that kind of thing? And yeah, it just doesn't really do that in my mind. Elden Ring did, don't get me wrong, but like
absolutely.
This is now
someone
in the shadow
of
that.
Someone waking up in the second week of December should be able to say it wins.
I don't know. I also feel like you want a Game of the Year to kind of be the bastion of the industry, and kind of for people that aren't big gamers go, okay, this won the Game of the Year last year, here you go play it. And you'd hate to have to issue the caveat of like, you need to play like 70 plus hours of this grueling game in order to even get a taste of the DLC.
Situations in the past, like I know this was never going to happen, but like Infamous First Light, like that was something that was like, or even like Festival of Blood also for Infamous.
They were all
other games,
standalone, right?
Yeah. To some extent, I think. Now that I'm
both Horizons had standalone.
Well, you couldn't. Could you play Frozen?
Didn't they? What am I thinking of?
Frozen Waste. What's it called? Frozen Waste.
Is that what it's called?
And
Frozen
Forbidden Shores. Could you play them?
No, you couldn't. I think you're making that up. Personally, I think Assassin's Creed had them. Like there was a lot of Assassins where they were separate. I don't know. Anyway, there are situations like that, but yeah. I don't know. I feel like so much of Elden, like Tree, is really like you have to really play Elden Ring first. Like it's, whereas all these, like I would argue, like I don't know, I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's making me angry. My blood pressure.
I think I've been persuaded. I was like, it's totally cool. Let it be. Like if it was, like sequels kind of come out that aren't as long as this game, like this DLC, like it's fine. But
I don't think
the standalone argument.
Yeah, I agree.
Kind of...
Length and size should not matter. I
disagree.
Well, interesting.
All right. Do we have any more closing thoughts on the Game Awards? Do we want to do our predictions actually for Game of the Year? Like, what do we predict is going to win it?
Isn't there
Brodie,
like 2
do you have a
weeks to go?
prediction?
Shouldn't we just wait?
No, let's just do it.
Oh, okay.
Go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Brodie, what's your prediction?
Like what I think and what I want are probably two different things, but I want Metaphor to win.
I want and expect Astrobot to win.
I want Astrobot to win. I think Final Fantasy VII is going to win. Or Elden Ring, but... Well, it got the most. It got 7 with Astro, and I just think it'll come up above Astro.
Maybe.
James?
I want Metaphor to win, but I think Erdtree is going to win.
Okay, that's a very interesting mix.
Do you know, actually...
Balatro wins. What a fucking wild...
Do you know what?
I'd
be pretty happy with
hilarious.
Balatro as well. I feel like that's a very good game. Very good.
Okay, well, if James is making 2 predictions, then I also want to... No, I'm joking. So I was going to mention Silent Hill as well, James. Did you?
Yes. Yeah, I didn't want to talk about this too much because it might also make me angry. But Yeah. I know that especially some of you people here are always like, oh, it's a remake. But like, I feel like this game is like Silent Hill 2 is really, really good, but it has got a lot of nods elsewhere. And I think it will win a lot of the categories it's nominated in personally. But...
Yeah, score and music, audio design, and narrative. I think it's nominated for.
Yeah,
and performance.
Yeah. If it doesn't win audio design, something's wrong.
Agreed
with all of you. But I think I'm excited to see where we go.
I think what's crazy about Silent Hill's audio design is how it'll just like do things like once off that like send a chill down your spine and then it never comes back. And it's like, what? How much time was spent on that one beat that you could? Oh, the one I'm thinking of, you wouldn't be able to miss. But yeah, just crazy, all the same.
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy, there is chatter that PlayStation might be in the early stages of developing a PlayStation portable console that can play PS5 games on the news. This reporting comes the way of Bloomberg. Shannon, I'm curious, what would be on your wish list for a PlayStation handheld this day and age with all of the different kind of handheld devices we kind of have out there in the world now? I feel like the landscape's changed a lot in the last time since we last spoke about a PlayStation portable.
I think what I would want from a handheld, a PlayStation handheld now, is pretty much the Steam Deck to PC and Steam. I think I would want it to play games at 1080p, whatever it is, 30 FPS, 60 FPS, look a lot worse, but just seamless saves and the ability to take it away. Maybe it's a better experience if you're in your house and you can use Portal-like technology, but then, you can just go anywhere and sort of play it and have your saves sync up. That is what I would want from a PlayStation Portable. I think we know that it's never going to work with it having its own library in games. Like PlayStation's never going to support that. But as something that is a companion to the home console is what I want now.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it nowadays, right? Like, don't try and support it in its own right. Like, even the Switch and the Nintendo haven't gone that route anymore. It's all kind of one and the same with a single unified library. And Xbox, obviously, like their campaign kind of came out this week too, which maybe we can bring into the conversation as well, where like everything is an Xbox. I think it's that kind of same mentality, albeit PlayStation, I'm sure will control their hardware a little bit more than that. But it feels like that's the kind of step, the kind of direction they've been headed in a little while, and that excites me. What do you think, Brodie? Do you think this is real? And like, if so, when might it materialize? It sounds like it's maybe even just like R&D at the moment, right?
I'd say like with most things, where there's smoke, there's fire. So, I would say it's probably similar to Xbox's situation. They're still early stages. They think theirs is probably rumored to be a couple years off at least, or a few years. So, if they're still, as you say, in R&D, like we could be looking at a little bit of a wait. This might even tie in more to maybe the back end of the generation, or maybe even the start of the next. So, either way, like Shannon said, if Shannon gets what he's hoping for, I think it'll be pretty cool. I'm all about these now, like companion handhelds that I can just play in bed and I don't have to tie up TV time and stuff, and I could just chill out. So, I think it sounds fun. Interesting.
I must admit, it would be a bit of an annoying situation though, if like we have to have a different handheld for each of our like libraries. It's like, well, I play my Steam library on this, my PlayStation library on that. That'd be a bit annoying.
We already have that with console exclusivity, so
and I think a big reason why they're doing this is because Xbox is launching a handheld, like they've said as much, and then obviously the Switch 2 and the PC version exists, so PlayStation's going to be left behind if they're not working on something.
If they can
nail
down their cloud save systems and stuff, though, I think that's going to go a long way to holding them in good stead.
Already, the cloud saves work pretty seamlessly between multiple consoles. I say seamlessly, like there is a step involved, but I sort of feel like it wouldn't be far removed to like just take that step out of it and automate it somewhat. Xbox does it so well. Really, they've just got to follow that as a template, I think. James, do you have an appetite for a PlayStation handheld?
No, but I think more than a portal, definitely. Like, I think that having a dedicated device that isn't reliant on internet or whatever would be good, personally. Because I don't do a lot of handheld at home. I do a lot of my handheld like on my lunch breaks and stuff, and sometimes I'll jump in and there's no good internet, and I'm like, fuck, no, I can't do anything. So if I actually had a dedicated thing, that'd be great. It's interesting, isn't it? Nintendo.
I like Shannon's idea
always...
of it having an option. That's a cool one.
Anyway, as I was saying, it's interesting, isn't it, that Nintendo...
I think Shannon's trying to talk to us.
I think I accidentally muted myself.
Really? Oh my God.
I don't know if you've used your portal in the last week, Ewan, but it's gotten a lot better in that the latest update. I don't have any kind of stuttering or anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because like I got one of the Game Sir controllers, which I cannot speak like more highly of. It's an awesome thing, and I've been using my Switch a whole bunch, but you can also just like use it as a Bluetooth controller on your tablet or your phone or something as well. So I've been experimenting with streaming Steam on my desktop PC to my iPad, and it is like I'm in the same Wi-Fi environment as my portal, and it just does not work nearly as well. It just feels like there's twice as much or 3 times as much latency as there is on the portal. And I don't know what they've got cooking with the portal, but like it's trumping what is in theory like a much more kind of expensive, like powerful setup with that iPad PC combination. So yeah, I think they've like really done a great job of that, and it's sold clearly a lot better than they thought it would too. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's kind of further encouraged them to like explore a portable console once again. The cloud streaming came to the portal though this week too, Shannon. Obviously it's not available in Australia, as we know all too well and all too frustratingly well. Do you think this is likely to incentivize more kind of portal purchasing though? And can you see it coming to Australia eventually?
I think so. I don't think I think it's something we spoke about at length when it was announced. And yeah, I think I keep saying like Xbox Cloud Gaming is super impressive. I was playing COD on this Odyssey monitor the other day and it was working flawlessly. So it's clearly improving a lot. I think people would be keen for it, for sure. I think it just means you can play, like James was saying, you do need good internet, but not as good as what you would to stream from your console. So I think it should incentivize people. I don't think it's going to move the needle that much. And will it come to Australia? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's going to come anytime soon, to be honest, but that's just my feeling.
What? Like, do we know what the reason for it not being here is? Is it like a concern around like network infrastructure?
We might not have servers here or something. Like it took a while for Xbox to bring theirs here as well, and I think they launched like their centers here. PlayStation does seem really slow in rolling it out. Like it's clearly not their main business strategy, like it is Xbox's. It'll come here, but I just don't think it's going to happen like tomorrow.
Yeah. It's just a shame because I think that's what supports the PS3 games, like in the and I saw Resistance got added, and I really wanted to play the Resistance games.
I guess there's more of a chance now than there would have been with like PS3 games, but then it would make them like change PlayStation Plus tiers. Like there's a whole When I say it's not going to happen tomorrow, it's because it will change like their whole infrastructure of things. I don't even know how that would work with people like and their deluxe memberships changing to premium and whatever else.
Yeah, fair point. That would complicate things.
Neck minute tomorrow.
We can only dream. Brodie, you reviewed Stalker 2 last week. We've not had the chance to talk about it yet. I think all 4 of us have kind of had some time with the game as well. But your review is out, and we've not had the chance to speak about it. So I'm curious, what were your thoughts on the game?
Obviously in 2 minds about it. I hadn't played a Stalker game before, so I didn't really know what to expect. I sort of, in my mind, I'd sort of decided it'd probably be somewhere between like Metro and, I don't know, something probably a bit more punishing. And I suppose it was. So at first I was like, oh no, I don't know if this is the game for me. Like I was dying a lot very quickly, and it just took a little bit to get into the flow of the world. But I think once I got in there, I found the world and sort of how everything unfolds, like in terms of how it blends like the survival elements and obviously like some of the more immersive sim-like elements. I found it quite engrossing. The story wasn't a lot to write home about, at least from what I had managed to get through. But just the moment-to-moment walking through the world, like the sense of place is terrific. I think the zone is such a cool video game location. But obviously, as has been the story of the week, like it's hamstrung horribly on console at least by a lot of performance issues. Like talking just absolute plunges in frame rate where I was sending a few to Shannon, like where I was just taking videos and like the cutscenes were like slideshows almost. Like enemies dying and just like T-posing in the middle of the field. Just enemies appearing out of nowhere. Like I will be like hiding in a hallway, like trying to like get a jump on another bunch of enemies, and then like people just appear next to me and just start fucking shooting me. So, for a game that's already like difficult and frustrating, like to have that shit, I guess follow you around and not really give you any sort of reprieve at all was very frustrating. I also don't think that it was designed. A lot of it was not designed with consoles in mind, understandably. Like Stalker's a very big PC property first and foremost, but like things like the inventory management I found like super cumbersome and just like horrible to deal with on console, and I don't know if any amount of patches will necessarily fix that, like evidently they attempting to do with the performance. So that's sort of where I had left it. I was obviously marred incredibly by performance issues, and put it down prior to the patch coming out. So I think the night of embargo, I think a 150 gigabyte patch dropped, and obviously it was too late to factor that into any criticisms that I had at the time. So, but I have played probably another few hours in the week since that came out, and it hasn't fixed everything, but it does run a little bit smoother, at least from the parts I've played. And this is a game where it started rough, but then just got rougher and rougher the further I got into it. So to see that there's been an uptick in performance, at least from where I'm at in the game, I think it's encouraging. But yeah, like if they can iron out these performance issues, I think there is like a game here that people will find special and they'll gravitate to. And obviously, like it's hard to ignore, like I guess the elephant in the room being like what this team has been up against, and like it feels harsh to level criticisms at it when they're doing what they're doing in the state they're in. So look, I think the game could get its cyberpunk like redemption somewhere down the track, and I hope it does. But yeah, where I had left it, at least at the point of review, it was in a bit of a rough shape.
Yeah, I think it's worth calling out if you're unfamiliar with the story that it's a Ukrainian dev team that have had to flee a Russian invasion, in addition to the troubles that COVID kind of prevented.
There is a tremendous documentary on YouTube that you can watch as well called War Game that sort of details the game's development and everything. It's very worth watching.
Yeah, and so the fact that it's kind of come together is incredible, but for sure the technical elements of it was kind of dampening my experience of it too. I kind of just took issues with I'd kind of just issues with the difficulty of it already, but then the fact that the kind of technical kind of elements were kind of getting in the way. Like I felt like the gunplay didn't feel great. Like some of the animations just felt a little broken to the kind of extent where the hitboxes were kind of being affected, that kind of thing. And it just felt like unnecessarily kind of grueling and unforgiving at times.
As I learned throughout the week,
but
apparently jankiness is a badge of honor for this series, and that's something that I learned. So, because I was readying my review, and then I started like reading all the like other impressions, and I was like, oh no, people want this. Like people want this to a degree. So, Well,
it was reminding me of something like Armor or like kind of Daisy back in like the mod heydays.
Yeah.
Where like the kind of broken element of it, I guess, kind of almost made it feel a bit more simmy in an extent. It's like you had to kind of be like super kind of deliberate with every shot and everything. Even things like the lighting, like I don't know how intentional it was, but I just felt like there was kind of blooming light sources that made it really difficult to kind of see outside of a lit building into a dark environment, which I guess is how it would be in real life. So maybe I'm wrong to knock it, but it made like already tough gunfights just like seemingly impossible. And I only kind of felt like I progressed through them just by kind of getting lucky or like scrambling to cover and just not copping a stray bullet, that kind of thing. I was enjoying the game otherwise. I'm kind of keen to get back to it. I think the world, to your point, Brodie, like just does so much. Like I forgive the lack of a fast travel system because just like moving about the world presents so many like little intriguing dangers, and the way the kind of like different anomalies and stuff
and
just
like
when those storms
catch
you out.
Like they're so crazy, like the emission storms. They look amazing.
Yeah, and you've got to have your wits about you, just kind of moving through the world. And it isn't just because a honey badger is going to jump you or something dumb like that.
Might.
It might. Fair point. Yeah, it was like kind of dangerous and unpredictable ways, I think, which I really liked. James, how have you found your time with the game, though? I don't think I've spoken too much about it.
Yeah, it's not really my jam personally, but I was the same with this other Stalkers. It feels very like authentic to what all of those old Stalker games are. It's I think it's still doing pretty well. I think it's sold 1 million in a day, which is like good, right?
Astrobot numbers.
Oh, really?
I think Astrobot only sold 1.5.
Yeah. Really? Yeah, wow. That okay, well that genuinely surprises me. But
it is a very PC game. Like it and the PC community waiting for this for ages, right?
Yeah, it's been one of those games that I think was like it had a lot of reverence when I was going through high school. This probably shows how old I am. But I think it's come out a mess and it will be fixed. If you can look at like past history to kind of predict the future, I think that this will have a very long life and have lots of legs for a long time. But I enjoyed what I played. I've got other things to do at the moment. So
yeah, I think it's a chunky game. There's plenty to do in there big. As well.
Yeah,
I've spent like hours in the first area. I think I'm only just now starting to stray outside of that. So granted, I've not played nearly as much of the game as perhaps the rest of you, but I think, like if that's anything to go by, there's a lot to do in the game.
I think Brodie's right. Like the sense of time, that sense of place is like really, really good. I mean, sense of time too, I guess. But it is a really, really, really cool world. And
I was already starting to find myself like moving about it just using the landmarks as well. I was like becoming less reliant on the map, which is really cool.
Which I think
love when a game's able to do that.
That is very good testament to like the design of the world and stuff.
Yeah,
it's just I really respect them for not. Kind of, trying to make any attempts to kind of get new people in. Like, it does feel very authentic to what the previous Stalker games were. So, yeah.
Keep your wits about you as it's like introducing new systems. That'd be my one piece of like beginner's advice. Because, you'll get taught to do something in a panic and then you'll need to do it at 2 hours later and you'll forget all about it.
Quick and fast, and it fucking doesn't really reiterate. It's just like
no. I didn't get any like helpful hint like, hey, remember to use your scanner. I'm like, oh yeah, I have that thing. I have a rapid fire question for you all today, and fresh from a ton of Game Award nominations, the director of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has ruled out story DLC for the game, so that they can prioritize Part 3, I should say. So 2 rapid fire questions for you on the topic. A, is it the right call? And B, when do you estimate we'll see Part 3? James, I might start with you. Is it the right call? And if you were to guess what year we see Part 3, what would it be?
I think it is the right call, and I just want it as soon as possible so we can move on, and they can go make other cool Final Fantasy games. So next year, let's do it.
Oh wow! Okay.
No, it won't be. It'll be 2026. Absolutely.
Brodie?
Not if they want to win Game of the Year 2 years in a row. They should really put one out next year. But I think in terms of finishing the story, it's the right move, and I'm going to say 2027.
Yeah, I don't really know what's like on the chopping room floor, like as far as the story goes, given this is my kind of first exposure to Final Fantasy VII.
Get folded into the Part 3 anyway. Really,
yeah, that's true.
I think it's like,
but I feel like it's the right call, and I'm hoping. I reckon.
Please.
I think like based on how they're doing, I think they want to maybe finish it up quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
2028.
Not even bother with it, I reckon.
Yeah, just cancel it.
No, 2027. 2027, I'm saying. Shannon, what's your prediction?
I think it did. Remake didn't have DLC, did it?
Yeah, it did. The first one
did. It did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Wholly
it's good that this doesn't.
It
Let's move on. Agree with James. It's not gonna be 2025 or 2026. I'm gonna say 2027, 2028.
Yeah.
Fear.
Yeah. Shannon and I are in the same ballpark, I think. Cool. What the Wiki is the Press Start podcast game show where the previous week's winner reads part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and we, the contestants, must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, with the round concluding after someone's bagged themselves 2 points. Last episode, that was Brodie who is in the hosting chair today. He is currently in 4th place on 25 points. Shannon, you're in 3rd on 30 points. I'm in 2nd on 35, and James still in 1st place on 39 points. 4 points clear.
Really? Should we start our double points round? I think we should.
Next week.
I did think about kind of, introducing some fun rules to just kind of like award people some
who
extra
aren't James.
points.
Like,
James.
Yeah.
Let's just
I
start
thought
James
about a
back at
rule
0.
for next season where if you're hosting and you are the winner, you're the current leader, then the other contestants are awarded like bonus points or
It's like the
double
chase.
points or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
It's not like the chase at all. But...
We need a blue shell system in the game.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm
We can hash
got
that
any
out
ideas,
another time.
leave 'em in the
Yes,
comments.
send us
Just
your
kill
ideas. That's a
James.
good
Okay.
idea.
Really.
Disrupt
Best and most efficient way.
Yeah, kill your darlings. All right, I'm trying to find a way to do this first game that doesn't give it away straight away in the first sentence, but I'll just... Do you want to lay down, Shannon? You look like you're laying right back there. You look comfortable.
I do. I'm settling.
You went out
in
of focus
this.
for like 5 seconds. All right, are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Game 1. The game was first announced with a trailer showcasing gameplay in its pre-alpha build on August 20, 2020. The trailer demonstrated the game built on Unreal Engine 4. It showed the protagonist exploring the environment and fighting various foes. Ewan.
As if.
Is this Forspoken?
It's not Forspoken. It showed the protagonist exploring the environment and fighting various foes in a level. The developer did not contact video game publications beforehand and simply released it online on social media. Within one day, the trailer had nearly 2 million views on YouTube and 10 million views on Bilibili. It was released to attract potential employees to help build the game. End
James.
of paragraph. James.
Is it Black Myth Wukong?
It is Black Myth Wukong. Well done, Jumsy.
Billy
Alright.
gave it away.
Yeah, I should.
Billy. Yeah, I didn't know what that
in at
was. I
that
was like,
point.
should I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Off to a flying start.
Could be another double pointer for Big Jumsy.
No,
We'll lock it
Brodie,
up.
you're meant to help Shannon here.
Well,
Yeah.
if there's ever going to be a fucking Ewan game amongst a lot of these, this is it. So if you don't get this, you have yourself to blame.
Let's
Got
go.
it.
Okay. Game 2. In the game, players obtain and sell scrap from abandoned, industrialized exomoons while avoiding
Ewan.
traps. Ewan.
Oh no, this is Lethal Company.
It is Lethal Company. Well
Let's
done.
go. Thank you. There was a
Alright.
moment where I was like, Ewan, shit, what is this game called?
Okay.
God.
There is a theme here, by the way, and if anyone gets the theme, I'll give you 30 points, unless you're James. Okay.
Oh.
The game number 3, by the way. The game follows the gameplay style of classic Japanese role-playing games. Players build up a lineup of characters and control a team of up to 4 in turn-based combat. In addition to various stats that affect characters' strengths, each character has a combat type that affects the kind of damage dealt to targets, a character class referred to as blank that defines their combat role, and a set of unique abilities called blank used in combat. Each character can equip a weapon known as a blank that has various effects that activate if the blanks of both characters and blank match. I don't want to use proper nouns because I feel like it'll give it away maybe. The game is set in a science fantasy universe in which humanity and sentient non-human beings follow the paths of godlike beings known as aeons. Those who follow paths are known as pathstriders. Each path espouses an ideal. For example, the abundance is based on the view that immortality is a blessing and that healing and altruism should be valued as a top priority. I'm going to go back up the page.
Start inserting the blanks.
It is the developer's first turn-based game featuring the main character, who is referred to as the Trailblazer, traveling across planets through the Astral Express to help and connect the worlds while resolving disasters caused by Stellarons and other third parties.
What? Why do I?
I
closed
keep
beta.
going, oh, maybe it's this, and then like forgetting about
The
something you
first
said
closed
previously.
beta test was launched on October 27th, 2021. It was publicly released internationally on April 26th, 2023. The PlayStation 4 version is still yet to be announced, as revealed at the 2023 Summer Game Fest with a trailer.
I don't think
It is the
will be.
4th installment in the series, utilizing some characters from blank and some other elements from blank.
What?
Partially due to the popularity of blank, the game was widely anticipated before its launch. It was nominated for the Most Wanted Game award at the Golden Joysticks. in 2022, won the Best Popularity Award of World Science Fiction Game Annual Awards in 2023, and Best Mobile Game Award in the Game Awards 2023. Oh, okay.
What is this?
I'm running out of fucking
So
daylight here.
lost.
Holy moly, this is a big fucking Wikipedia.
Mobile.
I couldn't even tell you what platform the game's on anymore. I was
Shannon,
like,
I
so
don't even-
confused.
I know it's
Shannon.
not on PS4.
Genshin Impact.
No, it's not Genshin Impact.
Turn-based.
The game began development in 2019
full
with the goal of
character type
exploring
and
new
full
directions
party.
for the series. The production team has about 500 people, most of whom are fans of
Oh
science
my
fiction
God.
works and turn-based role-playing games. This project is Hoyoverse's first attempt at a turn-based combat mechanism game. The team... Shannon?
I don't think this is it either. Zenless Zone Zero.
It is not Zenless Zone Zero. The team has stated that this genre is very
Shannon.
popular in the game market and can lower
Let
the
me
difficulty
back.
threshold for players to get started. End of paragraph.
Shannon.
Shannon.
Honkai Star Rail.
It is Honkai Star Rail.
Oh my god.
That was fucking painful.
My god. Can I guess what the theme is? No, actually, we need to
You can in a minute.
Yeah.
All right. Last game. And this could be anyone's.
Blimey.
The game is a Souls-like action-adventure video game played from a third-person perspective.
Shannon.
Oh,
Fuck off.
he's gone the early crow.
Lies of P.
It is not Lies of P. The game was announced during a Nintendo Indie World presentation in 2022. The game it showcased the game's Souls-like concept. Following the announcement, details about the game emerged throughout 2023. Information regarding the core mechanics, such as the shell system.
Shannon. I knew it was that.
Is it another crab's
hate
treasure?
this.
It is another crab's treasure. Well done, James.
God damn it.
Lovely.
So the theme.
Okay, I'm less so sure about the theme now. I was going to guess, is it like most watched games on Twitch this year or something like that?
I think it's something to do with the golden joysticks.
It is. All those games just won Golden Joystick Awards.
There you go.
Dynamic.
30 points for James. Well done.
James, extends his lead there now on 41 points. I moved up 1 to 36. Shannon up 1 to 31.
Good get on Honkai Star Rail, Shan.
Thank
I
you.
only took naming every Hoyoverse game there is, but that's okay.
Yeah. I was drawing nothing but blanks. I was very lost in that round. But with that, let's bring an end to what was this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us
every
on
round?
Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at pressstart.com.au and follow us on socials at pressstartau. We've been joined today by Shannon. You missed 1 week of
follow
hosting.
me
This
at-
is what happens. Sorry, Shannon.
You can follow me at Shannon Grixty.
James?
Yeah. You can find me on X at JamesATJMZ.
And Brodie.
Thank you. You can follow me on most things at Brodie_DG. I signed up to Blue Sky this week, guys, so follow me on that piece of shit. There's nothing going on there, but yeah, come look.
I don't know like which is going to be the one that rises from Twitter's ashes, but I've
Threads,
like
I
tried
think.
to
I don't
just
know.
like create an account everywhere just to be safe. I've been your host, Ewan. You can follow me on socials at Ewan_Roxborough. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, happy gaming.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.